long drive, and I thought I'd share some things I have been learning. I subscribe and watch a lot of YouTube channels on prepping, survival, and health, and gardening, and crafts. But the survival and prepping channels, a lot of them go back into, in a HFCS situation, you have to have X amount of calories a day. And they're right and they are wrong. Yes, you need so many calories to function optimally, but I see a lot of them adding some very unhealthy things to bump up the calorie intake. And what good is getting enough calories if you end up getting sicker and sicker over time? Or when a bug goes through the community, you're going to be waylaid because your immune system has been compromised because of those additional calories. All calories are not the same. I mean, we all know this. I mean, we all know that a big bowl of salad greens, 500 calories of salad greens, is a huge bowl. It's a lot to eat. Versus 500 calories of any dessert is minuscule. I mean, it's a little bite. And then when you compare nutrition one to the other, it's a no-brainer. We all know that big bowl of salad greens is better for us. And I'm not talking iceberg lettuce. I'm talking all sorts of different lettuces, spinach, greens, kale, collards, all in there. So you have a very nutrient-dense 500 calories versus a piece of bread, ice cream, a bar, an energy bar. Those are, don't bother. Just don't do that to yourself. Don't do that to your body. It's a snack. It's a treat. It's not something to live off of. Not for long, anyway. I mean, if you had to, then yeah, do it. But for a long-term situation, don't do that to yourself. All calories are not the same. All sugars, all sweeteners are not the same. The diseases that we are seeing now from cancer and heart disease in particular, heart disease is the number one killer. I gotta get from behind this person. But the diseases that we're seeing now only affected the wealthy, the royals, 200 years ago. Gout, heart disease, diabetes, that was never seen among the common populace. It didn't exist because their diet was a lot healthier. The more white flour, white sugar, the more white, the worse you are. So, and sweeteners, if you have to have brown sugar, use brown sugar instead of white sugar. Eat colored foods versus any white or beige foods. Really, that's a really good rule to live by. And I've been noticing, just understanding cancer. My dad died of cancer last year, and there was no hope for him. The medical science, they couldn't operate on him and take the tumor out. They knew it was just a matter of when. And he went through radiation and declined chemo, thankfully. I think if he had taken that, it would have killed my mom before he died, because of the way she would have cared for him as he declined. And I watched this, and I did my own research, and I watched different things, and there was a lot in common with certain diets that prevent or fight reoccurrence of cancer. Now, the macrobiotic diet, if you talk to a doctor, that's been proven. They will recommend that for people that are recovering from certain cancers to keep them from getting the tumors back. And then you have the Hallelujah Acres diet. Check that out. H Acres is their website. They're about the same thing. And now the paleo diet and the maker's diet, the Daniel fast, these things have been going on goes back to that too, about the green leafy things. If the more your diet is green leafy things, the healthier you are. And the more you cut out sugars, the healthier you are. Oh, back to sugars. All sugars are not the same either, just like all calories are not the same. Your body cannot digest the sugars the same way. Just like lactose. Lactose is a sugar. Any of the O's is a sugar. Glucose, lactose, fructose, sucrose, those are sugars. And they all have a different molecular chain. Lactose is a very big one, and it's hard for people to digest it. As we get older, we lose the ability, the enzymes, to break that down. Especially Asians, people of Asian descent, lactose is a problem. So, sugars are not all the same. Fructose. If you have high triglycerides, cut out fructose, especially high fructose corn syrup. Cut that out from your diet completely. Limit your fruit intake, especially fruit juices. Avoid fruit juices, especially orange juice, especially things that have been denatured. If you have to have orange juice, you juice an orange for yourself. Do not get them out of the bottle. They've been pasteurized. They're from concentrate and water. Why bother? You just might as well just drink sugar water with some flavoring in it. It's the same thing. The only fruits that you can have if you're trying to limit fructose are grapefruit, lemons, limes, and berries. Those don't seem to have that high of contact. They won't cause your insulin to go up. With fructose, your body will produce insulin to try to get the blood sugar down, but the insulin has no effect or very little effect on fructose. And that's why your liver starts pumping out triglycerides to counter the sugar in the blood system. So then you got, not only is your pancreas being overworked, your liver starts overworking. And fructose, to top it off, shuts down the part of your brain that gives that full signal, you've had enough to eat, you don't need anything else. It actually sends out the signal, you're hungry. So if you eat a big meal and you have a lot of fructose in that meal, even though you're full, your brain will tell you you're still hungry and to eat more. So that's why we get this, late night, I gotta have something else to eat craving. So all sugars are not the same, all calories are not the same. Everybody knows this on some level, but it hadn't really dawned on them how it's really affecting their health. Now the connection of sugar to cancer, my dad he wasn't a sweets person. He was always, he would rather have something salty. Well, months before he got diagnosed with cancer, his sweet intake started going up, and he would tell Mom to buy more Little Debbie's cakes and donuts, all sorts of sweets that he normally, for 70-something years of his life, he avoided those things. It wasn't an issue for him. And then all of a sudden he was wanting more and more, and Mom noticed that he went from one Little Debbie cake at night to 2 and to 3, and then they'd get a dozen donuts and they'd be gone the next day between the two of them. And I said something about it, that something was wrong. And when we came back from a trip, my mother and my dad was very, very sick, and he wanted me to make a doctor's appointment, and I said, no, go to the emergency room. And he goes to the emergency room, and the doctors were going to prescribe the VA hospital. That's another topic. They were going to just prescribe him some antibiotics and send him on home. My brother, who is a medical doctor, said, no, run these tests on him. And my dad was furious he had to stay the weekend at the hospital. He was just furious with my brother in particular for making him stay there. And they ran the test, and yes, he had lung cancer. And I tried to talk to him about his diet. I was buying him vitamin D, making him take him in mega dosages of vitamin D, 15,000 international units. I tried to get all sorts of other stuff. I tried to do hemp oil. I'm not a doctor. I can't prescribe medications for him. There were some brother to prescribe for him. That never happened because my dad's lung functions were just terrible. They couldn't take the tumor out of the lung without pretty much making him bedridden, and he didn't want that. And chances of him surviving the surgery weren't good. But my dad, at almost 80 years of age, was on no medications whatsoever. He did not have high blood pressure. He did not have diabetes. He had smoked since he was like 12. And yeah, the lung cancer, pretty much put a stop to it. There were times where he'd stop for a while and try to kick the habit and then went back to it. But he was on nothing. No prescriptions until after he was diagnosed with cancer. And he lived a year and a half, which was miraculous in itself. And I did a lot of research. I really looked into that, and there are I'll put some links. There's The Beautiful Truth, a movie, Burzynski, the movie. There's all sorts of information out there, and it makes total sense to me that the pharmaceutical companies cannot patent eat more veggies as a cure for cancer. So, health-wise, optimally, the more greens, the fresher the greens. If you grow it, that's probably the best way to do it. You know exactly what went into it and how it was fertilized or not fertilized, and what it was sprayed with or not sprayed with. Local greens is the next option, so you know the farmer or the gardener. And if not, organic. I'm not a big militant organophile, organophile. But things are getting cheaper and cheaper. It's cheap to buy a package of organic spinach. That's easy. Add your own romaine lettuce. It doesn't have to be organic. Do what you can. The more you can, the better off you'll be. And the sooner your system. There's so many nutrients that we haven't identified. We can sit there and say, well, this has omega-3 and this has vitamin A and E and all this other stuff. But there are so many nutrients that have yet to be identified. And there's combinations of nutrients that need to go in with other nutrients for optimal digestion, that you're going to process it. And there's fiber and all sorts of stuff. And plants have that. Plants naturally have that if they're grown as naturally as possible. So the more you give your body that, the more your body can fight off cancer. Cancer is something we all get. We all get it. Our immune system, thankfully, identifies it early on that this DNA didn't replicate properly, destroy it. When you compromise your immune system, and sugar does that, sweets does that, carbs does that, what things that your body turns into a sugar does that, it can't fight the cancer and you get a tumor. Plain and simple. It's not rocket science, it's not complicated. More greens, less sugars. And artificial sweeteners, don't bother. I grow stevia. I love it. I think it's a fun thing for the kids to grab onto and just snack on it with other things in the garden. But I don't use it. I used to make stevia with the tea to make sweet tea, because everyone loves sweet tea down here. Iced tea. But it's still not good for you because the brain expects a calorie hit. When the taste bud sends a signal to the brain, ooh, this is sweet, the brain automatically sits there waiting for the calories that's going to hit the system. It's getting ready to do all sorts of different things. It's a signal that's been designed into us or evolved into us to expect a lot of calories at that point. If the calories don't come, I don't care what artificial sweetener you're using, 0-calorie sweetener you're using, the body starts demanding calories. This is why diet sodas don't work. In real life, the people drinking diet sodas are not skinny people. They're all fat. The ones I've noticed, they're fat. Many people are drinking regular sodas. Go figure. What's wrong with that? Water is the only diet drink you can have, okay? Water, plain water. So artificial sweeteners are not the answer. In fact, the newer ones are neurotoxins. There's a lot of now mystery diseases that are coming up, and a lot of people just being said, oh, it's just psychological, put her on Prozac or something. When there is actually a neurological problem happening. Fibromyalgia is up. Lupus is up. Why? And then when you sit there and look at the diet, and they're eating a healthy diet, they've limited sugar, they're having diet sodas. Please, don't do that to yourself. Anyway, I better shut this down. Thanks for watching. Oh, comments are appreciated. If this has helped, or if you want to discuss or know more about any of this, Underground Wellness is another really great source. A shout out for him. I'll put a link to his channel.